are people with means, productive individuals, usually. Most of them, of course, there are exceptions, but the vast majority are productive individuals ready to take their capital out of Russia and into the West. So if you really wish to harm Putin and stop the war, I think you'd be looking at ways of encouraging capital flight and or brain drain, not cutting off one of the more effective ways of getting capital out of Russia. So the arguments kind of used by the Home Secretary Priti Patel in the UK, I don't think they make a lot of sense. But the effect right now, we've seen in the last few days, a number of Caribbean programs have said that they're closing to Russians and Belarusians. In fact, Antigua also closed it down to Ukrainians, interestingly. Um, Malta has done the same. Portugal's golden visa, the Greek golden visa, all closed off to Russians. And the effect of that, I think, is that if we're closing down everything to Russians, that Russians with money will have no option but to remain in Russia with their money. So I don't think Putin is particularly troubled by the exclusion and discrimination, I would say, that his citizens are now met with around the world. In fact, I think he kind of considers it to be in his interest. Of course, there's some merit to the arguments that have been used in, for example, in Antigua and Malta to exclude Russians, which is that they say, well, we can't adequately conduct due diligence and background checks on Russians and Belarusians right now because of what's going on. Maybe that's the case. Maybe it's a way of saving face. I'm not sure, but what's more disconcerting to me is kind of that this war in Ukraine, and the fear and doubt that it's given rise to is sort of shamelessly being exploited by politicians to attempt to stop citizenship by investment altogether. So, I mean, it's as if CBI programs are somehow responsible for the financing of wars in Eastern Europe. I think this is a case of politicians having a certain reflex to not let a crisis go to waste. So when people are worried, people are clamoring for solutions and answers and investment migration, which is a concept that most people aren't that familiar with. When that's being mentioned in the same breath as real threats, a lot of people seem to go along with it. So if you're asking me about the near term, it's hard for me to answer. I mean, I think first of all, we're going to see more programs get pressured into excluding Russians and Belarusians. I think it's one thing to exclude, the 500 or so people on the sanctions list. That's okay. That's that's something a lot of people can agree on. But excluding people simply based on their nationality, that's what we tend to do with places like Iran. And I think Russia could become sort of a huge Iran for the next little while. I think the only thing that'll end this situation in Ukraine and the impasse between Russia and the West is a regime change in Russia, and I think that'll only happen if Putin drinks a really bad cup of tea, which could happen. I don't want to speculate as to the likelihood of a palace coup. But I'm also worried about the European Commission pulling a Vanuatu move on the Caribbean countries. I mean, we saw the European Commission suspend its visa waiver program for Vanuatu for everybody whose passport was issued after 2015, which is when they when they started in earnest with citizenship by investment. So, I mean, I consider that less of a risk for the Caribbean because, frankly, the dialogue between the Caribbean CBI countries and Europe is a lot better than it was between Vanuatu and Europe. And my impression is also that Europeans kind of have more faith in the vetting procedures of the Caribbean countries than they did with Vanuatu. So I don't think there is any reasonable argument that the EU could make for revoking visa access for the Caribbean CBI countries, but this is the kind of geopolitical moment where I think developments are not necessarily governed by reason. I think our decisions are not based on what's going on in our prefrontal cortices, but rather what's going on in our amygdala, the base of the brain, fight or flight type of thinking, and fear, uncertainty, and what I guess you could call the fog of war is sort of allowing politicians to quickly push through agendas that under normal circumstances would take years. So
Christian,
I hesitate to make,
we have limited time, and I'm sorry to rush you off, but
no problem.
But I have one last point that I want to make is what do you think the Caribbean programs can do? Because you can forgive me if I make this point, but none of this is happening because of anything that has been done untoward by the Caribbean programs. I mean,
that's right.
This started with Malta and Cyprus within the discussion within the EU, for example. So, what does the Caribbean CBI? What do the Caribbean CBI programs have to do, you think, to kind of stave off this kind of what direction that we're going to, which kind of mirrors to us what happened with the banana industry, the offshore gaming industry, the offshore banking industry? How do you think we can stave it off?
Well, whatever you did with the offshore industry, that didn't work, right? So Correct. Don't do that. I don't know. I don't know exactly. It's difficult for me to say what is the right move for the Caribbean. I'm not from the Caribbean. I don't pretend to have the answers for the Caribbean. It's tricky because, I mean, some might suggest that you prostrate yourselves and go to Europe and say, okay, just tell us, we'll do whatever you want, just don't take away our visa-free access to Schengen. But then again, you're sovereign, independent countries, and it's not very becoming of sovereign, independent countries to kind of negotiate with people who are threatening you with revoking these privileges. It's difficult for me to say what the right answer is for the Caribbean, but sure, I mean, for sure, I would emphasize the enormous amount of due diligence that's being conducted to like really underline that you're not taking any risks, that the due diligence that's being conducted in the Caribbean is second to none, that it's the least risky category of immigration. I mean, it's the most tightly scrutinized and controlled stream of immigration in the world. That's citizenship by investment, because no other, citizenship by marriage or citizenship by family reunification or by time spent in the country, none of that is checked in the same way. So I think it's a question of probably reiterating that, but again, the Caribbean's been doing that for years, and people haven't listened, and I'm not sure that's going to be effective either. I'm sorry, I don't have any good answers.
Well, I thought
what I would say though is that on the other end of this, there is a silver lining. I think that there will be increasing demand for citizenship by investment in the Caribbean after this. In the coming decade. That could happen even in the absence of, even if Schengen access is revoked, that could happen. I think we'll see a second Arab Spring come out of this. I think we'll see a lot of turbulence, North Africa, Middle East, parts of East Asia, and Eastern Europe. So I think the Western Hemisphere will kind of be the big winner in that. So investment migration programs in Latin America, the Caribbean, North America, they'll be the beneficiaries, I think.
Thank you, Christian. We got to go. Thank you. You can go off to bed now. And
thanks a lot.
Much.
All right.
We're gonna take a quick break over here, guys. Keep it locked. Q95. This is The Other Side. We'll be right back.
Right here, right now, I put the offer out. I don't want to chase you down. I know you see it. You run with me, and I can cut you free out of the treachery and walls you keep in. So trade that typical for something colorful. And if it's crazy, live a little crazy. You can play it sensible, a king of conventional, or you can risk it all and see. Don't you wanna get away from the same? Oh, Apache gotta play, 'cause I got what
Welcome back to the other side. You're just listening to Mr. Christian Nashim from IMBI.
Nishan.
Nishime. I
Yes.
keep saying it wrong, sorry. You're giving us some really good information, I think, about that new act. I think everybody's talking about that. But we're going to dive into something more, what you guys have been waiting for you. So all over Facebook, we've been advertising it. Yes, we have Dr. Vince Henderson here with us, the PAL rep for the Grand Bay constituency, and Minister for Planning, Economic Development, Climate Resilience, Sustainable Development, and Renewable Energy. He's back, people. Back in government. Yeah, we want to have a talk with him today. And we're hoping you feel the same way. Of course, there'll be a time for you to, call us and ask your questions. But how are you, Mr. Henderson?
Oh, I'm doing great, thanks.
You're
It's good to
good?
see you again.
Yeah.
And it's always a pleasure. Yeah,
I remember the first time I met Mr. Henderson, I'm going to be very honest. I said, wow, he's charming.
You're going to put me in trouble with Samuel.
I said, wow, this is a charmer. He speaks well, I like the quiet power. Yes.
Just
Stop looking
remember,
at me like
And
that.
Sam, it's not
Kenny.
because I said anything, okay?
It's that I
She
just
meant
have to be
hearing me on the
honest.
radio and stuff. Yeah,
No,
that's
no,
all
we
it
met,
is.
we actually met.
Well, yeah, we did.
I was with
You
him
did,
before,
yeah. You
and
were
I was just
working
like,
that, yeah.
wow,
You were the representative.
alpha male, power, quiet. Anyway, I'm getting carried away. It's not that type of show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate that.
Oh, you all always have to treat me like that. Anyways, so you're doing fine. You're doing great.
Yeah.
How has it been thus far?
Pretty good. Exciting, as a matter of fact.
Mhm.
It's really good
Exciting.
stuff. Yeah. Representing people of the Grand Bay constituency is, in itself its own energy.
But why Grand Bay? Are you from Grand Bay?
Why are you trying, man? We run the election, the thing done. You're trying to
Stop asking
litigate?
questions. I try anything.
Well, I mean, really and truly, it's not even, I'm not even going back there and my grandfather and all of this
So
story.
you have ties in Grand
I'm
Bay.
not even looking at ties. I'm looking at my connection with the people now. We've developed a really great thing.
The reason why I asked that, because
Really, really great.
people want to know, but why Grand Bay? You're not from there.
Boy,
you
the
didn't
people look,
run
you see, they're
there.
asking the wrong question.
Okay.
The question is, what's happening in Grand Bay?
Mm.
There's a lot of great energy, a lot of great vibe. I mean, we hit the road running, and we onto a good thing. And I can see that, I can feel that, the commitment of the people, the determination, the desire to move their communities, and not just Grand Bay, by the way. You say Grand Bay constituency, but it's Tetmon, it's Martin, Bordeaux,
Mhm.
and Grand Bay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
it's
did
like-
you decide you wanted to run for there? Or was this something that, a decision of the PM?
Well, I had this great inspiration. No, I'm just kidding. No, man. I mean, it's something that happened when it happened naturally, and I think, unfortunately, it was occasioned by the passing of a great friend, Ed Regis, and my party invited me to be back in the parliament, and this was a great opportunity to do it, and I embraced it, and I think it was a great decision. The people there have really made me feel welcome.
Mhm.
Very hospitable people, good vibes, and I said, I get a lot of energy from the Grand Bay constituency.
Mm.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How long did you serve as the ambassador to the United States?
The United States, man, that was from 2016 to 2021. Before that, the UN, 2010 to 2016.
So you're now making a transition, or you've made the transition from that life of being out for this considerable amount of time to being on the ground and now being part of the nuts and bolts of being in Dominica. What has changed?
Well, but before, I would like to add-
Can I jump in before Kenny? And this is seniority. I'm the oldest here, right? So just
Big respect.
understand that. Thank you so much. Let's not leave Grand Bay so quickly, if we can, and then we'll go back.
I was going to say that too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you for. What are you doing in Grand Bay? I went out and campaigned for my dear friend because I
Sure.
thought
Thank
you
you.
were the best
Thank you.
candidate. I dragged this fella along
Sammy
with
K,
me,
yeah, Kenny
and
K,
we went
Kenny
and
K.
talked to young people, and so because
Mhm.
I really thought, and I still think that you have something to offer
Yeah.
this country and the people of Grand Bay. So what are you doing? What are your
Plans.
priorities? What are your initiatives that you're doing? What's happening since that election, and what should we expect? If you can just put that, that's a lot. If you can just put that in a nutshell, because we have a lot of listeners in Grand Bay, and then we have in St. Thomas from Grand Bay, and Granbarians are all over. So they want to know what you're doing as their representative for their constituents.
Thanks for the question, but I think you want to know because they know. Because I've been in touch with them. I've been at their homes. I've been at the communities. I've been on the ground.
I just want you to. I just want you to repeat it. I just want you to repeat it.
I will. And Sam, thank you very much.
It's not only for the Granbarians to know. Everybody needs.
Well, yeah, everybody needs to. Yo, I'm a man. I love to give information. I am, open and transparent. I like to share. But really and truly, I mean, Sam, thanks, and Kenny, thanks for being in Grand Bay constituency during the campaign. You met with the youth, and they're waiting for you. We have to go back, and I'm looking forward to that. But Sam, thanks also for giving them opportunities, employment at Jungle Bay, and thank you for your kind words that you shared with me. I told my group that, and these are the kinds of encouragement that people like to hear. So thanks for that. But Grand Bay, what we're seeking to do. And so far, I can see the signs are working, although we are pretty much more focused on meeting some of the key demands of the people, especially with housing, employment. But I think the big thing is generating more economic activity in the south of Dominica, and especially in the Grand Bay constituency. So there are opportunities that we're looking forward to. Agricultural development. Right now, we just started the rehabilitation of the Makaton Road, $1.5 million. Public Works Corporation is on site. We also have been doing some repairs to the roads. From the time I got there, since the campaign, actually, we're able to get support from the Ministry of Agriculture, do some work on both on the Mopo Makato side, and recently we did some improvements to the road from the junction, the public road, all the way to the junction to Makato and Mopo. So we've been pushing because we want to enhance access. The next step is to see how we can work with the farmers to ensure that we can help them to make the connection from production to market. And I think that is where the key is going to be. And that is where we're hoping that we would be able to generate opportunities for young people to go into serious farming, productive farming, to ensure we can provide them with greenhouses, irrigation, and that sort of thing. And then move to a further step to value added, which is where we're looking at agro-processing. And we hope that Grand Bay will become, or the constituency, because it could be in Grand Coulibaly, will become the hub or center for agro-processing in one of the agro-processing plans that we're hoping that we can do with the Ministry of Agriculture as part of government's policy to add value to our agricultural produce. The other area that I'm looking at, Sam, and that's where you come in, is tourism. To look at how we can bring more tourist dollars into the Grand Bay constituency. And when I talk about tourism, you too, I'm talking about all visitors, Dominicans, locals coming into Grand Bay to spend. So what we're looking at a number of things. The GTEC, we have the Geneva Tourism Enterprise Corporation that's set up, reopen, and I want to thank Minister Dennis Charles and the Ministry of Tourism for helping us to reopen and to also recognize the hard work of the GTEC team and people like Julian Paquette, who's been working closely with them, Cleo, Lefam, and the rest of the team. So we're hoping that we can empower GTEC to expand so that they can provide more services, but also for the experience that tourists can get in Grand Bay. And we're hoping to tie that with the Geneva River, then onto the Pierre Charles Boulevard, where we hope to create a sort of a more of a tourism experience. And when I say tourism, it's just a lime spot somewhere people can meet and experience, especially for visitors, foreign visitors, to experience life in the Grand Bay constituency with culture, art, agriculture. When I say agriculture, in terms of local teas, coffee, cocoa, whatever that we produce. So it is really building an enterprise. That is really where the focus is going to be. And my recent discussion with the general manager of the Aid Bank is to see how we can improve the Geneva Estate industrial estate so that we can help to generate more activity there. There are a few operators there currently, and we're hoping that we can get a few more in there.
Okay, while our dear friend Ed was with us, I'll disclose that, I've done some consultations with him and the people of Grand Bay with respect to what you talked about, economic development, and they brought me in. And one of the things that it came from the people. I know resources are tight and limited, and infrastructure right now we're challenged. But one of the initiatives that was talked about was a road connecting Grand Bay to Soufriere side, so that you can now have a southern loop around the island. And what that would do is a lot of lands from the Grand Bay proper itself, going all the way d'Alfonsi, going all the way up to Tetmon, Palmis area, come all the way down. It now becomes a fertile land with great views. These are some of the most fantastic views that I've seen for agritourism. And this is something, and then the road could also serve as a means for people to traverse to more easily come to work. Some of your constituents, work with us at Jungle Bay. They have to go that roundabout way. And it would make it much easier for them to go, and vice versa, so that people can now leave Jungle Bay and get a taste of these things, or leave Roseau and so on. So now and just for safety too, if there's something that were to happen in Grand Bay, so you now have another way to get out other than through the Pichland side, or even if something were to happen to us in Soufriere or Scott's Head, that we could take that loop and come down. So such a link would be a vital economic link, and I just like to put that out. We had talked when Ed was around, and I know a lot of the young Grand Bay people would be cheering that, because that's something that I'm sure you're looking at that, but I just want to put that out.
Sam, we've looked at it, and interestingly, I mean, it's good to engage the locals and to talk to people within the area. I don't like the song of locals. Sorry, I take that back. The people in the community. It always gives a bad connotation, but it's really important to have that. And in my own engagement with people, especially those who live closer to that point, which connects Tetmon to Soufriere, is, they have different views. But one thing is certain, as I promised them, is that we will take a look at it. I don't know how much it will cost, so I never promised it to anyone. I said to them, the promise I'm making is that we'll explore it. We will look at it closely, because at the end of the day, it could be prohibitive in terms of the cost.
Correct.
But I agree with you for all the reasons that you mentioned. I think, and I'll add one more: resilience building, and that is something that CREED is also going to be engaging very soon, looking at alternative routes to connect, the communities. So in the event we're hit by a major disaster, we can evacuate and protect lives. So it is something that we're looking at as part of the tourism and agricultural enhancement for the area. Excellent. And that view, by the way, that is a majestic view. When you get up to the top of Tetmon, and you must come up there sometime.
That family up that side.
Yeah, just ask the people, and they call the big water tank, they refer to it as the dam, right, Lucia? So if you go to the dam up there, at the back of the dam, you will get it's a gorgeous view right there. So it's something that will be looked at.
So Minister, I want to jump into this, because the preamble I was going to before seniority took over was
senior citizens. Thank you.
I want to jump into it because the current circumstances have pushed us to this point. Energy. Now, you've been a champion for a long time for renewable energy, namely geothermal. And we're coming to the point where, I haven't looked at what gas futures are right now today, but we're looking at possibly $135 a barrel for oil, and gas futures even higher. What is going to happen going forward for us for renewable energy and geothermal? How are we going to reap the benefits? Because Dominicans want to get behind this, because obviously energy affects everything. Our ability to do industry, our ability to do to work, the tourism business. Tell us what's going on.
Well, Kenny, as a researcher in energy policy, which is the area that I focus in my doctorate, it really something that we've always found is that it is only around these times that people see the need for indigenous sources of energy and alternative sources of energy, renewable energy. So it is really when people see that, and then once things get better, they forget. So 2008, we're up to $150 a barrel, if you remember. And it seems as if we're heading there now. The pandemic got us up a bit, 100 almost, and then it stayed there for a while. The invasion of Ukraine has now brought it up to, I saw the highest it went to was $139 a barrel. And it went down a bit, but you're right, it will be around that for some time, and it's projected to go even higher. So the need for renewable energy, again, is made so clear. The argument is clear, because there's a lag. So by the time this $135 a barrel hits us, it will be another few weeks but we will get hit. I mean, that is a reality we have to face, and we have to expect that there's a cost to war, and not only the people who are directly impacted, but the entire world always gets affected. So it will affect the food chain, the food supply. Sorry, it will affect logistics and everything else. Energy is also had its hit. Russia is the third largest producer of oil and gas in the world. And with so much of Europe depending on Russia for oil, and even the US, it definitely will have an impact on the cost of electricity for all of us and the cost of fuel. And this is why our pursuit for geothermal energy since we got into office in 2000 was the right thing. And I will say that Prime Minister Skerrit has remained steadfast in his support for our development of geothermal energy. Even after we got hit in 2015 by Tropical Storm Erika, we invested more in geothermal energy development. And then by 2017, when we got hit by Hurricane Maria, Prime Minister Skerrit agreed that we're going to invest more into our pursuits for geothermal energy.
Mr. Anderson,
And yeah,
sorry to
and
interrupt.
this is where we have to go.
And I like what you said. I think, it's a good idea to invest very much in another source of energy. But I think the people are concerned because it's like, when are we going to reap the benefits of this geothermal project? How much money? Is it over 200 million already gone into that project? How much has
If you're
gone
talking
into
Trinidad
that?
and Tobago dollars, yeah. But in US dollars, it's only about $20 million. And that, from my knowledge, my experience with geothermal energy projects, we were naive to believe that this is something you can do quickly. If you talk to ORMAT, they tell you the average time it takes for a geothermal energy project is 13 years. 10 to 13 years.
Where we reach now?
And these are the
How many years
guys,
are we at now?
these are the guys who are the experts in this. So here's the thing. We started making investments in 2007. Our real investments when we got grants. And that's the other thing people need to understand. Dominica is the only country in the Caribbean that has gone so far in the pursuits of its geothermal potential. And we're able to mobilize most of the funds that we've invested by way of grants, and the rest is from CBI. So what we've seen coming through the years. Now, the only reason why we don't have a plan turned on now is because we got hit by two major hurricanes. Well, a tropical storm and a hurricane. When we got hit by Hurricane Maria, we were already on our way to closing the deal with our partners to develop that plan. We got hit, they pulled out. September, they pulled out. By the end of September, they pulled out. We started again. We got support from the World Bank. By the time the tender documents went out, we had to take into account the damage of Hurricane Maria. And that caused the cost of the project to go up by 2 times. So I know people are anxious, and I am anxious. Hey, after all, I'm the one who's talking about this for the longest. So I must be more anxious than anybody else. And I carry the burden of it. But the fact is, we are now much closer than we were a year ago or 2 years ago. So we have now on the ground, we have a $9 million contract signed with Ace Engineering. And Ace Engineering has been on site preparing for drilling. So they're pretty advanced now with the civil works. We have signed a contract with a drilling company out of Iceland to come to Dominica to drill 2 new wells in Loda. That is a $12 million contract that we've signed. And that's grant money, by the way. 10 million from the UK and 2 million from an organization that I started, SITSDOC. And we're able to get the 12 million grants to put into that project. We are also advanced in developing some new transmission lines for Domlike, which is about a 30 to 40 million project. That is money that we've secured, again, concessional financing from the World Bank and other partners coming together to ensure that we can build that new transmission line. It will be, I'll tell you though, the last thing I'll tell you now on this is that at the end of the day, once we do this and we get it right, it will put Dominica on a path of economic growth based on an energy future. We will be able to have cheaper, cleaner electricity, which will allow us to propel industries. And most importantly, I believe it will allow us to produce green hydrogen, which is the way of the world.
I have one last question though on the geothermal. The drilling, I think it's a concern that we're having as well. Is there any relation between what's happening at the fluctuations that are happening at the Boiling Lake and the drilling? Is there any
No,
relation?
well, from the experts, we have definitely none. And then if you talk to the historians like Dr. Honeychurch, we were not drilling back then when the things started happening. So there's absolutely no relationship.
No
No
I
relationship.
have a different question for us to move on to another topic, which is when you started, you had a capacity defined for the plant, the test
Yeah.
plant that you were doing.
Yeah.
Is that going to have to grow? And secondly, coming back to the meat of the question, when do you think we will be up and running, transmission happening?
My apologies, I forgot to answer
It's
that. I forgot to
okay.
tell you that much. But I would say when we designed the project after our tender process failed in 2019, we were looking at the end of 2023. But to be honest, I'm looking more in terms of the summer of 24. And I really hope we can pull it earlier than that. We've been affected by the pandemic as well because our drilling company won't be able to mobilize to get on island in the next 4 to 6 months. And that is the reality because they had to move to Africa and now they're stuck there for a little bit. We expect to see that happening because the good thing about is drilling, once it started, within 2 months it will be done. Once the drilling is done, 18 months you can build a power plant. And once they start, I'm confident that they will keep going until, well, God forbid we get hit by a major hurricane or something. But we expect to see.
And what capacity are you looking to build?
Yes,
to?
that's the other question. So that's the thing. We raised our ambition after 2019. We started at 7 megawatts, which is it's decent for Dominica because our peak is 18.
Yeah.
Well, pre-Maria.
Mhm.
Since Maria is 12, it's 15.
Mhm.
And so we're looking at bringing in half of that capacity. We move it to 10. After we did a redesign, we went through and we looked at our options. We decided to go 10 megawatts for domestic. And immediately after, we'll do 50 megawatts for export to Martinique, which will bring in revenue by way of royalties. And that is what we've been pursuing. And that's, sorry to answer, again, coming back to your question about how long, that is also part of what has delayed the process. Had we gone ahead and just do for domestic, we could have maybe get it sooner. But the opportunity for the revenue on export is something that we shouldn't miss. And this is why we found ourselves negotiating with the French. At the same time, we're trying to build a domestic plant.
You all heard it right here about the geothermal. We're going to a quick break. Keep it locked right here on Q95. This is The Other Side.
Right here, right now, I put the offer out. I don't wanna chase you down. I know you see it. You run with me, and I can cut you free out of the treachery and walls you keep in. So trade that typical for something colorful. And if it's crazy, live a little crazy. You can play it sensible, a king of conventional, or you can risk it all and see. Don't you wanna get away from the strain? Oh, Apache gotta play, cause I got what you need, so come with me and take the ride. It'll take you to the other side, cause you can do like you do, or you can do like me. Stay in the cage, or you finally take the key. Oh, damn, suddenly you're free to fly. It'll take you to the other side. Okay, my friend, you wanna cut me in? Well, I hate to tell you, but it just won't happen. So thanks, but no, I think I'm good to go. Cause I quite enjoy the life you say I'm trapped in. Now I admire you, and that will show you do. You're onto something, really it's something. I live among the swells, and we don't pick up peanut shells. I'll have to leave that up to you.
And we're back to The Other Side. Yeah, man, we're having some juicy conversation here. Of course, in studio with us, our special guest, Dr. Vince Henderson, the PAL rep for the Grand Bay constituency, and as well, Minister. Boy, back in government, huh?
Boy, yeah, I'm back. The little boy from Backstreet St. Joseph.
Mm.
I think I got that name on this radio station.
Really?
And I love it.
We were talking about the geothermal energy, and something just popped into my head.
Mhm.
What about other sources of energy? Are we looking into hydro? What else are we looking into?
Well, we have
So
hydro.
much.
We have hydro, don't forget. And two of the hydro plants got hit by Maria.
Mhm.
They're being repaired. By the end of the year, they should be back online.
By end of year.
Yeah, so that's about 6 megawatts of our power, which is about a third of what the full demand now. By the time we get full hydro and geothermal, we almost fully renewable in terms of electricity generation. And the plan is soon after to get another 5 megawatts online. So we'll be good. The future is bright. I'm telling you, I'm going to deliver this energy stuff. The future is bright.
Okay. Let's dive into some questions.
But yeah, we do a little solar too, by the way. And
Okay.
yeah, so yeah.
I want to dive into some questions I see online because I just find them to be juicy. I've been really honest. So I came across this post that said, hey, Vince is the acting prime minister. Serious. I said, wow, okay. That's interesting. You're watching me cut eye. Oh boy, that's interesting.
That sounds like a setup. So go on. Go on.
No, but I started to really think about it. And I think why people were so taken aback by that. It's like, you fresh. You new.
Hi, fresh. Hold on. This is why I wanted us to go back, you know.
No, but you can't
You
go back. You didn't want to go back. Remember you said you're not going back there.
No.
So you're fresh.
I'll tell you what I was telling you fresh about. I said the election passed, we won this thing, so we're moving on. But I was here in 2000. I became a minister when I was 27. I was a little boy from Backstreet St. Joseph.
We know that.
And fellas in this house couldn't take it.
But you have
But
not
no, hold
been in
on.
government.
I stayed in government
And
for almost 10 years, you know. I left government in December of 2009. By that time, I had acted almost every ministry except finance.
Okay.
I had, been appointed. So I have had tremendous experience in government.
We're not
So
questioning your experience.
So to say
We're
that
not
I'm new,
questioning your
there's nothing new about me. You know, I'm an old man.
What we're questioning is why bypass the other senior ministers? That's what we're questioning. To give you, who's fresh, who's new.
Gasai, not fresh. I'm not new, Gasai. I was brought back into this thing because I brought some experience both in government and outside of government.
Mhm.
So to look at me as new, I think it's sort of it misses the point. I serve as government's primary, I would say, messenger negotiator outside of Dominica for the last 10 years before I came back.
I would kind of look
So-
at it.
No,
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine. I was just going to get to the other part.
I would look at it, Tanya, a little differently, and pardon me for calling you Vince because
Well, Vince,
we
please,
go
please call me Vince.
way back, right?
Yeah.
But I would think, why not? Because you've served for 10 years in various ministries. You went and you advanced yourself, prepared yourself for what? For what is he doing? And to come back again, so you have the requisite experience, you have the academic foundation, you have the worldview, because you've been out there looking at Dominica from outside, and I'm sure you're a technocrat. So you bring a lot of the ingredients. So I would happen to think that on merit, if there was a matter of seniority, this is the man that's been there for the past 20 years doing all of these things. So from a seniority standpoint, plus I think what Tanya suggested is that you have a fresh, you come with a fresh energy, which is what she's saying, which I think is no, let me see. Then I'm saying it.
Mhm.
So you come with a fresh energy that I think will give a lot of people, even within cabinet and within, the surrounding, the Labour Party and so on, and even outside of the Labour Party in Dominica, that we now have this senior person that's been going out there preparing himself for a higher calling, a higher office.
Sam, thank you for your kind words. But Tanya, it's simple.
Yes.
I serve at the pleasure of the Prime Minister.
Mhm.
And the Prime Minister determines who is minister, and he determines who acts as Prime Minister when he's away.
But you just
Simple as that.
understand why I had to ask.
But simple as that.
You understand why I had to ask too. And yes, I agree with Sam. I'm sure you come with a fresh perspective. Definitely. You have a lot of experience. I'm not questioning your experience. I'm just questioning the fact that there are senior ministers there before you came into power.
But that's just a little
And
thing.
they
The
were
man was out for
bypassed.
2 days, and I mean, come on.
But
man. I didn't write the state canon. I don't
I
know.
stayed-
That is a
Huh?
big
Tanya?
rule.
I
That's
stayed-
a big rule.
I stayed silent on this, but I kind of consider that a what do you call a nothing burger because the role of the acting prime minister gets switched and revolved around pretty much every time
yeah.
between
That's the
different
point.
ministers. I think the bigger question is
Ask him the big question.
What's the big
Which one?
question? Or they don't play
the
my
big
question.
the bigger question about whether he has aspirations to become
That's
prime
the big
minister.
question. Let's do
Is
that.
that the question?
That is a big
too.
question.
That's
Let
a
us
question
go.
out there too.
Let's
We
put
should
it
talk
out
about
there,
that.
Vince. We're keeping it real.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But I was
Make
waiting.
an announcement on the other side.
Oh.
You want to break the news.
I was living up with
Prime
Tanya.
Minister?
Yo, listen. I was very comfortable getting used to the life of a technocrat, a consultant. I sort of enjoy that stuff. and I was really getting used to it. When the opportunity came for me to serve,
Mhm.
I wasn't sure if I wanted to do this. And then I thought about it and I said, but if my country needs me I'm not my youth anymore, I'm an old man. But I mean, I still have something to contribute. Why not contribute? So for me, I am back here to serve. And wherever people want me to serve, I will serve. I am prepared to serve. For me, it's about service.
That's a real
first.
politician's
No,
answer,
no,
man.
it's
know it.
but
You
that's-
know
no,
it.
but
You
but
know
Brilliant.
no, but
I
no,
love
there's,
it.
but there's a lot of work.
Brilliant.
No matter
Applause.
what's on here, there's a lot of work to be done in Dominica. Dominica needs people
That's what
to
I
come
said,
to
you know.
service, and this is why I'm here. I'm not honestly, seriously.
That is what I said.
People don't believe me when I say this. I am here to serve, and you could ask the people of the Granby
Do you
constituency.
know what song I just heard in my head when
Tell-
you finished
tell-
that?
tell me, tell
Smooth. That song. Song from. He said, "You smooth. He knows how to rap. He knows how to communicate."
Your partner coming for you. What's his name? Zizi
The fellow
Poo?
from St. John. Radio. What do you call it? No, but I mean, no, I'm here to
Very
serve.
good. That was a good answer.
And so I'm enjoying it.
So I have another question to you, and it's related to what we discussed earlier with let's come more geopolitical.
Yeah.
And you see things happening. There's a lot of things happening right now.
Yeah.
You've got just today the US have banned the import of Russian oil. You've seen that CARICOM was under pressure a couple of years ago to disavow themselves of President Maduro and Venezuela. CARICOM held strong, and there were pressures from opposition and other people saying, why didn't we cave in and get rid of Maduro or step away from Maduro? And now we're seeing the US reaching out to President Maduro to assist them in filling their gaps with oil. There's the possibility, for example, of Iran coming to a treaty, the JCPOA. How does the Caribbean effectively lobby to protect its own interests at a time like this? And you're someone who's operated at that level, because you've got multiple things happening. You've got, at the same time all of this is happening, we've got energy concerns, which given the fact that renewable is not going to be on tap for a while, all of us in the region are going to be feeling it. Then you've got our citizenship programs, not for any fault of ours, but because there is a conflict going on, under attack, so to speak, by these third-party offerings, which are saying, look, we need to shore up the defense against, Russian individuals, and looking also at what has happened in Malta and Cyprus. How does the Caribbean build an effective lobbying machine to deal with all of these concerns?
Sometimes, especially having spent a few years in Washington, you get the impression that you spend money on lobbies in Washington to respond to those pressures. And in the case of the EU, spend money on lobbies in Brussels. We've not done either of those things over the years, but we've been able to still find our way and to protect our interests. In the case of Dominica, we've negotiated, we walk a very tight rope with our relationships with the US, the Europeans, and maintaining our friendship with, say, for example, Maduro in Venezuela,
China,
with Cuba, with China. Because I think more and more we've gotten our partners to understand our position. And I think the Prime Minister is very skillful. I think sometimes underrated in terms of foreign policy, but I think he has done a very pragmatic approach to foreign policy that has allowed us to be able to navigate those very complex international geopolitical situations. One of the cases I could even highlight was at the same time when we entered into the ALBA and Petrocaribe arrangement with Venezuela. There are a lot of commentators who are saying that we'll end up in trouble with Venezuela because, the competition for oil and all that stuff. The same year we got the Salibier Primary School from Venezuela. We got the Sansover Primary School from Trinidad and Tobago. So he has, and that is because the Prime Minister, Roosevelt Skerrit, has been able to do that. I think as it stands now, what is going to save us is, yes, diplomatic maneuverings and relationships. So the nuances of those relationships have to help us to stave off some of the pressures. But for the CBI, it is the integrity of that program that is going to save us. And what we've been able to build over the years, remember there were years where we were attacked. I mean, there have been so many attacks. And I'm sure tonight you'll hear a few more, when we open the lines. There have been so many attacks. What we must ask ourselves as a country, without the CBI, where would we have been? after Tropical Storm Erica, after Hurricane Maria, especially after Hurricane Maria, when we couldn't even find our way out of the city of Roseau or get into Roseau because of the rubble that surrounded us. The supplies we got, just one more thing to say on that. The supplies we got after Hurricane Maria were financed from the Treasury. The food that we get, most of the food that we're able to distribute throughout Dominica is not the ships that came to help us or all of the support that we got. We thankful for that. But it was the money from our Treasury that we're able to use to purchase foods, to purchase waters and other supply. The housing that we're undertaking now, that is because of CBI funds. We have been able to survive, by and large, from the returns or the inflows from the CBI. And what we have done that will help us in this very difficult time is the integrity that we've built into that program, with the due diligence that we've set up, the processes that we've set up, the relationships that we have with our partners to ensure that we can open up and not hide away so that they know what is going on. And that is what is going to help us.
Okay. There has been a concerted effort, not just from outside to put pressure on our CBI program, but from within.
Yeah.
And from within, working with parties outside, we have some attorneys who are of Dominican descent that are well connected in Washington. We're not calling names on the other side.
Yeah.
Along with a number of other persons, certainly the leader of the opposition. We can go back to, I think it was 2016 when he went on CBS and basically, sought to destroy the CBI program. And it's been a concerted effort. How effective has that been? And speak to that, because to some persons, to myself, it's an act to bring down the economy of Dominica for hopeful partisan gain. How do you see that from where you sit? And I know I saw that video with you and the foreign minister being chased and hounded. And as a Dominican, I felt really bad about it.
Yeah, I remember you reached out to me.
I reached out to you for that, really. Speak to this, and we don't have to get partisan here, but be honest, Dominicans need to be mindful.
No.
Because this is going to be another banana collapse or whatever. Everybody's going to suffer from it.
That's right.
So speak to that a little bit.
No, but Sam, I mean, to me, there isn't even much to speak about because it's just foolish. It's just pure stupid to believe that, according to the late Pierre Charles Adderton saying, you want to burn the house down to kill a rat. I mean, you cannot. Or my other friend, who is now in the highest office of the land, who likes to say, you don't care, cut your nose to spite your face. The fact is, the people who have been pushing this thing, I don't know what they're thinking, because if this program collapses, the untold hardship that will be brought onto the Dominican people, I don't think any of us will be able to bear it. It would cause serious problems in Dominica. So what we've seen, those guys, and they tried that with the with elections as well, when they run to the OAS. And my predecessor in Washington at the time, the ambassador who served before me, he was one of those who went to the OAS, carrying tales of all sorts of electoral irregularities in Dominica. And the truth is, the Secretary General of the OAS believed them then. Mm-hmm. And the lawyer in Washington, they believed them. And the leader, and all these guys who went to the OAS, they will believe. The Americans believed them, or at least the representatives to the OAS at the time, until Minister Barron at the time and myself met them and presented the facts to them. They did their own investigation and they realized, but hold on, there's nothing there. These guys are leading us to some nonsense. And the OAS sent observers and they proved that there was nothing there, really. Similarly with the CBI, the guys have made loud noises. And when countries with their intelligence services, the access that they have to all this information, they have determined there's nothing there. And this is why our program remains intact.
Including the $4.3 billion.
Well, ask something.
Is it that much? Oh, yeah, in US dollars. I think in $DC, yeah.
I like what you said, if this program, the CBI program, is destroyed, it's just not going to be good for us. So why does it feel like we're putting all our eggs in this basket? What is the government doing outside of CBI to create different streams of income for us?
Fair question. So
I think that is the concern of people. It feels like we're putting all our eggs into this basket. And look, we have a threat now with this new act, which I'd love for you to speak about. How does the PM feel about that? What are we going to do in Dominica?
So We've heard that. But what's the commentators who make that observation, what they fail to realize is that almost everything that we're doing around the productive sectors and creating opportunities for our people, especially for education, that is what we're seeking to do, to diversify the economy so that we don't always become reliant on CBI. We'll always be reliant on CBI. The construction of the international airport is just that, is to really expand opportunities. The construction of hotels like Jungle Bay. I'm not sure how much more can you diversify. We have invested, the Kempinski, the Jungle Bay, they are operating, they are functioning, they are real. Secret Bay expansion is
Buying
real.
agricultural produce, not just
Precisely.
employing.
Precisely. And the investments that we're making in agriculture,
Sustainable.
tremendous investments in agriculture. I agree, perhaps the economy is not expanding quickly enough as we would like. Our investments in energy. I mean, we are investing in energy. We've gotten over $5 million US from the Treasury to finance our pursuits in geothermal energy.
Mm-hmm.
That it will have returns. And that will, once we get it right, we'll be able to expand the economy for greater opportunities because we'll have cheaper power, we'll have clean power. And then, as I've said, one of my passions is the pursuit of green hydrogen production, which will become a major fuel source, a fuel cell for the world. And we are pursuing all of those things. The tourism development that we're seeing. I mean, the expansions we've made to Douglas Charles to make it, welcoming to at least to receive the American Airlines flight out of Miami, to sustain that flight, to provide support. How do you think we're able to finance the COVID center? We just took a decision, recently that will save almost $300,000 a month. And so that is just saving. So it means that we are running close to $500,000 a month just for COVID.
Minister, I have
in Portsmouth at the facility there.
I have a follow-up. I think it's safe to say that the government has decided that tourism is one of the major investment paths, and CBI is the platform for that. But I have a concern with regards to the current situation with COVID and the transition into a normalized environment. Come April, we're going to have flights 7 days a week, average 70 people coming in a day. That's close to 500 people a week. We're in March. I know there's been signs that, for example, that Creole and Jazz will be the first signature event that will be open. But is there going to be enough preparation for businesses, in particular, the private sector, to get ready? The Airbnbs, yes, the hotels, because that's a lot of people. I mean, you're looking circa 500 people a week.
Yeah.
And they're going to come to Dominica. The restaurants have to be
So
functioning.
get ready how? What is it that you're asking
No,
about?
in terms of the protocols right now.
Okay.
We have to start to ease up with the New York
Kenny,
drop.
Kenny, you know better than most that we have gradually eased up. The recent decision.
I want you to say it.
I was going to ask, we have protocols now?
Of course we
We
do.
have protocols?
The
Okay.
recent decisions that we've taken to accept antigen testing, for example, from any part of the world, that is streamlining the process. And I'm not supposed to talk about things that happen in cabinet, but I know the chairman of cabinet wouldn't mind. That the Prime Minister has been very insistent, and the Ministry of Tourism, I have to give credit to Minister Dennis Charles, that we need to make the experience, better, more efficient at the airports. And this is why gradually what we've been doing is that we've been easing up. So we moved from requiring PCR to antigen for the US only. That we did that a few months ago, and we realized it's been working. The other thing we have to understand, we have to gradually open, and we have to study the impact of our decisions to know whether we can continue, expand, or tighten up. I don't think we'll tighten up. I think this thing is really getting behind us. But the truth is, what we've done is a series of smart policies, smart decisions, so that we gradually open up. So if something goes wrong, you're still able to manage the fallout. So we first did it with visitors from the US, and then we move it to visitors from all over the world. You can take an antigen test in 24 hours, 48 hours, and come to Dominica. What we've also removed the requirement for awaiting approval online. Remember, you had to do this. This was almost, it was necessary at the time, but I found it to be a bit much. It was important at the time. We review it over time and realize there's no need for it right now. So we remove that. And we are making it easier for visitors, gradual easier. So by the time April reaches, I don't know what will happen with COVID. I can't say for certain that there won't be a new variant. There won't be something deadlier, a strain that could cause problems with a new variant. So we're hoping that if things continue at the trend that they have been going for the year so far, there will be more opening up. And I think that is what we intend to do. So we have a subcommittee on COVID that I chaired for a while, and we meet, we discuss, we see what's going on around the world. We have the benefit of the technical advisors in the Ministry of Health and other ministries, and we get support. We ourselves know what is going around the world, and you see, so we take action based on that. We follow the trends,
Right.
and I know, but there will be more opening up. I mean, we just had a successful,
I tried open-
carnival,
But let's open the lines because it's 7:04.
Oh, okay, sorry.
The people are buzzing my phone.
All
They
right,
want to ask you questions.
And before you say, yeah, I don't
Let
want
me
to
give you
take
all the
questions.
numbers: 449-309. Not you know that they will say that. 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, and once you want overseas, 305-432-9624. Let's take this call. You're live on the other side. Good evening.
Good night to men and ladies, whoever. Have you ever heard of extortionists? Of an extortion? Have you ever heard of extortionists? Anyone who got rich from extortion and robbery, that men or women, they are dangerous. That's all about it.
Thank you, caller.
What was that?
He answered
For some calls, Vince, let me just give you, we just say thank you for your contribution and we just move on with that because it's not, radio, we bring a minister to you. Radio time is for when you need to ask him the hard technical questions and take him to task. And that is right. So just say thank you for your contribution.
Let's take this one, please. Caller, you're live on the other side.
Yes, good night. My question is, the people who are receiving the houses, can they take the housing to the bank and say, I need a loan, I need to furnish my place, I need to extend, I would like to use that property to do a business? Can they do that? Can the government recover? That's the problem. You are giving away the money that you work so hard to get. Somebody should be paying to have those apartments and let the government get money back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's good contribution. Well,
Vince,
Yeah, well, the thing is, so far, there are a number of programs. So let's be clear. We're building 454 houses with funds that we receive. It's our money from the World Bank because we had to pay back, and that is coming from the Housing and Shelter Recovery Program since Hurricane Maria. So those are, I should say, gifts, full grants to the recipients, so they can actually own those properties. We also have a number of houses that we construct either directly from the Ministry of Housing, or in the case, for example, in our case, we're building a number of houses in Tetmont, in Mountain right now. Currently, we have about 3 houses under construction. We hope to complete them in the coming weeks. We have some support that we're giving to homeowners in Grand Bay. So those will be theirs. Then there is a third road, which is really the actual constructions from the apartment buildings. And soon in Center Grand Bay, we'll be doing 84 units in Center for the residents of Dubic and for the residents of the Grand Bay constituency. Those units will be given to them, as have the apartments throughout Dominica. We have almost every community or every constituency in Dominica. We have constructed apartment buildings where units are given to families. As far as I'm aware, those are they are given to the families, and they will have full ownership of those properties. As to whether they can go to the bank right now with a title in their hands, I can't say for certain because I don't know how far we've gotten with the actual transfer of those properties. But that is the case.
I think I can update you because the Prime Minister made a commitment that the titles would be done. And
Yes,
he said was, that's interesting in your comment, he said that the biggest issue was negotiating with the lawyers locally to get a rate in terms of the transfer of the titles, because they couldn't be paying the going rate, so to speak, based on the amount of apartments that had to be transferred.
Yeah, that's the intention. The intention is what I said.
Let's take this next call coming in. The lines are, on fire. Caller, you're live. Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
I'm listening to the gentleman, and it reminds me very much like back in the 70s or the 60s in Trinidad and Tobago, where they would use the phrase "mama guying." You guys are really mama guying the people of Dominica. Be truthful to them, gentlemen. Be truthful, for the truth shall make you free. Dominica has nothing. You guys are extorting and exploiting the people and talking about CBI. I dare hope the U.S. government clamp down on you guys so you can stop selling passports to Russians and Iranians and having Dominica's name.
Okay, thank you, caller.
Sorry.
Thank you very
Let's
much
take
for your
the other call
call.
coming in right away.
Sorry. Guys, I mean, am I really supposed to take this thing seriously?
No,
I mean,
Vince,
seriously.
let me clarify. This is why we are in this studio, please.
Sorry. I don't-
This is why we're in this studio, because where you sit,
Right.
this is total a foreign language to you because you deal with a different reality. But this is what the people here, Vince, have been exposed to night and day, and this is their reality. They really believe that, so that's why we brought you here to clarify these
how a
things.
man can be a Dominican and praying that another country destroys his country. I mean, really?
But Vince, this is the reality that we
anybody
live
in Ukraine
in.
is sitting there now saying, "Please, Lord, let the Russians keep bombing. Let them bomb. Let them destroy
But
everything."
this is what we've
I
become.
mean, no, but this is what the man. But this is what just.
But
what the guy
but
just
somehow
did.
we need to bridge that
I know,
because
and there's nothing to
that
bridge.
is a reality.
My brother, there's nothing to bridge.
Let me say
Yeah.
something.
That's not the bridge.
Isn't it sad that they think that this one thing, the CDI program, without it will be destroyed? I think there's a lot of emphasis on the CDI program. Like I said,
No, but
earlier,
there's Tanya. To be fair, whether it is the CBI, whether it is the banana industry, anything that is critical to the development of the country.
You
If
think they mash it?
if you wish for it to mash down, you actually asking for your own demise.
I understand
It,
that.
you see, the thought process is that somehow it will only hit one set and it will bypass another. But
Okay.
that doesn't work so. You know, the Jamaicans have a saying, same knife stick, sheep stick, goat. And the fact is, our country, and I'll give you a small antidote from that. Oh, the
Yeah,
calls are
you
coming
have to
in.
take the
We'll let the
calls.
call
Take
come
the
in.
calls,
first.
man.
Take the calls.
Caller, your line.
Blessings to you, my dear.
Hello.
Blessings.
Is that Tanya?
Yes, it is.
Blessings to you, Tanya.
Same to you.
All right. Kenny, Sam, and Mr. Henderson. Should I refer to you as honorable?
Hi, how are you doing, my friend? You refer to me just however you wish. I mean, we're Backstreet Boys, you know, man. I mean, it's okay. You can call me anyhow you want.
No.
I recognize the voice.
Just a few things quickly, my brethren.
All right.
Yes, keep it short, please.
What's up?
Keep it short, please.
Yes, I'm going to abbreviate it. Don't worry about that. There is a vaccine, so we can open up. Its name is Vladimir vaccine. You just put it in your arm. I did not say Vladimir Putin. I said there is a Vladimir vaccine. You just put it in your arm and no COVID. So why we bother to restrict ourselves now? What that has emboldened you so much, Mr. Henderson, to refer to people concerned as foolish. This is very disrespectful. And you're saying it like not even on a political platform, to say you're there with your political gimmicks. Live on the air, people concerned are foolish. And if you have over 20-something rats in a house, you can't get rid of them. Wouldn't it be wise to burn the house to get rid of those rats? Because listen, there's a great methodology. There's a great methodology. A big, beautiful bird that burned down itself to the ashes and rise from the ashes.
Wanna make it quick?
Bigger and with more beautiful feathers. So I want to know what that has emboldened you so much, my brethren, all of you. Not Sam and Kenny. These guys sound like gentlemen. What is his name? Some can get out of order sometimes. But you, Mr. Minister, I'll keep it short.
Okay. Thank you, caller.
That's it.
Next call. Thank you.
Let's take the next call. I don't think we have a response to that one. Caller, you're live on the other side.
Good evening, Tonya. Man, you're handling yourself properly, man. That's great.
Right, man. How long have we heard that, man, boy?
Cousin, man, you're handling yourself beautifully, man.
Thanks for coming to my rescue, man. My aid,
Man, you're meeting that ball beautifully.
Good to hear you, brother.
Some people are bent on destroying our CBI. We must not let it happen. We must take no prisoners. We must continue the good work that the CBI is doing in terms of our economic development in the country. Other countries have CBI and they're making full use of it. United States have a CBI program. Canada have a CBI program. United Kingdom have a CBI program. St. Kitts have a CBI program. Why are those people so naive? Comrade, continue the good work. I'll be listening.
Thank you, caller. Let's take another one. Caller, you're live on the other side.
Yes, good night. I'm Kenny. How are you, man?
Good night,
I'm
good night.
Raphael.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Henderson.
Yes,
and
hi.
young
Good
lady.
evening. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Yes. Let me just say, interestingly, when you all studied, I find some great points come out with respect to when you talk about the link road between Soufriere and Granby. But Sam, I don't know, you could also remind the panel that just like how the PD7 road and through Delicious was sculpted by the United Workers' Party and open up new land, that would be a good thing to have just made a single point. And number two, Mr. Henderson, I know you have been at the front of that geothermal with respect to getting it ongoing. And the young lady asked a very important question. What about the expansion of the hydro industry? And I don't think the answer was very good because we only generate 42.5% of our energy production from hydro. And diesel does about 67.5%. So I think we need to look at expanding the hydro itself. So that's another thing you have to look at. Yeah. Quickly again, Alba, you talk about Alba and what has been the benefit so far the people in terms of liquid petroleum gas. Why is it that this liquid petroleum gas is so high? And finally, I want to ask that question. While we take the point that the CBI has to generate national income, I don't think it should be an excuse to misappropriate CBI for revenues unlawfully outside the consolidated fund. Let me tell you, Malta puts more than 80% of its consolidated fund from CBI. And we have to get, and interesting thing for me to wind up. You all ask the opposition leader, the prime minister, particularly the finance minister, to look at the estimate, to go at the estimate that he has in his hand. The Honorable Leonard Linton has gone through that well and has proven that $4.2 billion is not accounted for. Why can't you all, and you all always say that he's the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee. Now he's doing his work, you all refuse to attend to that. Please tell us where that money is. Okay. It's not enough to just say, look at school, look Jungle Bay, look this. No, tell us, explain, break down to us.
Thank you,
and let us understand it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'd like to make a point to the minister before I step in. The caller made some very good points, and he made a point about Malta. I'd like to just clarify. Malta's program, which has been run by Henley and Partners, was shut down because of massive corruption.
Yeah.
And it is the reason why the European Commission began an inquiry into CBI programs, not Dominica, not Antigua, not St. Lucia, not St. Kitts, not Grenada.
Yes.
So it's unfortunate that you use Malta as an example because Malta is exactly the reason why we have a blowback into the Caribbean for something that we didn't cause.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that. The caller made some good points, and you see that's the kind of engagement that I enjoy.
Yeah.
I want somebody to challenge me on sense. I don't have time for nonsense, my partner. But the caller, I recognize the voice. we on different sides, but we're good partners. Hydroelectricity. Hydro is not a good bet for a small island developing state like us for a number of reasons. One, climate change. The impact of climate change, the severe droughts that have been, happening throughout small states like ours, it makes hydro very, very a great challenge because it means you will have to have expansive dams and storage reservoirs and that sort of thing that we don't have that luxury especially in the Roseau Valley. Studies have been done looking at the Makushu River, Roseau River, and the studies have shown that it's not very economical. The viability of those projects have been questioned, but I think the biggest impact is the impact of climate change and severe droughts. So we're repairing the hydropower plants that have been damaged that were damaged by Maria. But as far as expansion is concerned, I have seen the studies. I went through it. I remember the member for Roseau Central at the time referring to that study. I found it, and as part of my research as well on renewable energy, I studied it. I met the author of it. And we had a very robust discussion. I don't think it is the best best option for the Dominica. So that's for hydro. The Alba, my friend, one of the biggest contributors of contributions made by Alba is the storage facility that we have in Jimin. And that has saved us. That saved us after Hurricane Maria because we have storage capacity. And it will save us even now as there's so much fluctuation in the price on the global market, that we have at least more storage capacity and therefore can cushion some of the increases in the cost of especially LPG on the global market. But clearly, the volumes that we have still make LPG a little not as cost effective as it ought to be. As a matter of fact, just about a week ago, we're having some serious discussions on that. So the CBI, those allegations, I mean, they've been out there for a while, and we've sought to put them to rest. But I realize the people who are propagating those lies will not stop. And I think he made the point, and he should go back to that point. The leader of the opposition has been and always has been the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, who has the right to summon the accountant general, the financial secretary, the budget controller, whoever he needs to make his case. So simply doing your math, and of course doing your math without a basis for it, just from your head, that doesn't suffice, my brother. And that is not enough evidence. This is why our friends, the UK, the Canadians, the United States, the European Union have had no issues with our CBI program. And even after all of those allegations, look at where we are. Still the best program in the world.
He's doing it from his head.
But of course, when I say do it from here, it doesn't mean he's going to calculate it. I mean, there's no basis for it. There is no basis for it because the numbers were figments of his imagination.
So you're saying after he said he had looked at the estimates that Mr. Skerritt advised that he looked at, he goes through the numbers and he does whatever math. You're saying he's still...
But of course, he didn't take into account what was going to Sam's project. He didn't take into account what was going into the Kempinski, what was going into Anichi, what was going into... No, hold on. He did not take into account all of those things. He did a straight line calculation, which was a nonsense. And anybody who knows anything about the program will know that was just pure dishonesty or foolish. Mm-hmm. So it's either or. So choose which one. You want to be on the side of just being pure, just being foolish, or being reckless with the truth, because this is not a straight line calculation, and we know it, and he knows it, and if he doesn't know it, he ought to know it by virtue of the position.
Why can't it be a straight line?
Because what you assuming, the assumptions, you see, you can make a calculation based on the assumptions, but if your assumptions are wrong, then your conclusions are wrong, and that is what he did, and that's why I said it's not a straight line. Because, for example, I don't want to go into the weeds and go into the details of the financing, say, for example, of a Jonga Bay. But when a Jonga Bay project is designed and submitted, there is cost for marketing the program, there is cost for overhead, there is cost for commissions for agents, and so forth and so forth. So to make an assumption that every dollar that goes into Jonga Bay should go into the project is being malicious or just plain foolish. Similarly, doing a simple calculation. Here's the straight line. What did I tell you where the error is with the straight line? So let's say 500 citizens for the year at 100,000. And you just say, okay, yeah, it is. $500,000. This is $500,000, yay, or $5 million. That's why it is. And that's what it should be on the accounts. What you're doing is, one, a family could have 3 members, and each of them not paying $100. So $100,000. So that is already wrong. Secondly, there are 3 options now. There's a project option for developers, there is direct donations, and there is now the MMC program. So how do you come to that conclusion? That is all I'm saying. I am prepared to have a discussion on this. Yes, but anybody who can buy that, I have a bridge to sell them.
And there's a big gap there, Vince, that I brought up last week. It's that all the developments that we see that came through the MMC contracts, there is no part of that calculation with an estimate for what it costs to do it. Even if you say it costs $10 or $10 million, there's no estimate to go against the assumption of the money that was collected. So on so many levels, I take your point, but there are some more callers, I think.
But I want to just say something quickly.
Yes, go ahead.
We addressed this before, and we spoke to the auditor's report from 2019. In the auditor's report, page 17 and 18 talks to the fact that there has not been a meeting of the Public Accounts Committee since 2015.
Yeah.
The Public Accounts Committee, under the leader of the opposition, now that the accounts are up to date, so to speak, we're within 3 years of current, they have the right to question the accounts. Now, those accounts get accepted by the international community as the audited accounts of the state. Coming on the radio, talking in the public domain, cannot cut it. You have to be able to challenge those numbers from a fact basis by challenging the auditor himself or herself in this case. And when you do that, you do so under the protection of the Constitution. And if you don't do that and you come to the public opinion trying to sway hearts and minds when there's a legal process, a constitutional process that you can engage, it doesn't make much progress.
Yeah, and so that's my last point on that. Go through the process. You have access. Use that access, and that is to the leader of the opposition. Use the access to make it.
I could agree to that, but
not just throwing numbers up in the air. But of course, he's throwing up numbers in the air. Which report? Which report?
But let's take a pause.
Anyway, the man will explain to you how he get to his number. I don't know my business. I am not going to try to figure that. That's one thing I've always said. People try to put pressure on you to answer a question. If something doesn't make sense, why should I answer?
Agreed.
There's no basis for it.
But he did explain.
No, well, that is up to him. That is up to him.
Let's take this call. Live on the other side.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
To the entire panel. I'm going to be very brief, but let me respectfully and carefully say this to all you. Some of you guys have got passport money. We know that. But we are sacrificing to make a call for our country. If you cannot take the call as yet, do not take it. Because sometimes you pick up the call and the entire credit done. But however, I say this so you could understand that you could take the call and allow the caller to speak.
Okay.
I'm going to be brief, but I have a few questions to ask Mr. Sam Raphael. And in conclusion, I will be saying something to Mr. Vince Henderson.
We'll make it quick, caller. We have limited time, huh?
Yes, Mr. Sam, when the Prime Minister will be back on this program?
I don't speak for the Prime Minister. My goodness,
No, but the last time
I set his agenda.
Okay.
No, I really don't know the honest. Would you like us to invite him back? We did.
I want to be brief. So, but I would encourage when he's coming back that you let us know.
Okay, I promise to do that next time. Right. Okay, good. Fair
okay. Now, since you're involved in the passport business, do you know?
I'm not involved in the passport business, my friend. Let's be words matter. I'm involved in the citizenship by investment. It's important. So indulge me, please.
Okay, since you're involved in that, can you tell me whether Mr. Putin have is a holder of a passport? Can you tell me?
Sorry.
Well, I don't know if
I
don't know if Barack Obama is one either.
Don't finish him on credit. Let him
I
talk.
don't know if Barack Obama is one either, or if the Prime Minister of Trinidad is one. I don't know.
Okay, well, I may have to ask somebody else some other time if you don't know.
Yeah,
No.
I don't think so, though.
Mr. Vince, I don't want to keep too long, but I want to say this. I listened to Mr. Vince when the program started, and he was talking about his experience and how long he been there. But I am Tony Caesar, and I'm giving you an S, Mr. Vince. The reason why I'm doing this is because I am from Scotland, and in 2004, as I say this with all passion, with every fiber within me. In 2004, when I look at our Scotland schools were closed down and shut down, I ask you some vital and important question in a meeting at Scotland, and your response to me was extremely disappointing. I then I wrote to the Prime Minister, and as of this day, there is no response. And as we speak, that school is still closed. In my view, you are failure. Good night.
Thank you.
It's a good thing I don't depend on your marks. But I remember the conversation, and the school closed naturally. And I don't know what he expected me to do. Go and make train in Scotland? I mean, my brother, there was a natural process where two things were happening. The population of the school was small because of course, birth rate, low birth rates. And two, people were taking the children from Scottsdale Seminary to school in Roseau and elsewhere.
Mhm.
That's what
We
happened.
had
And in Port
Botica,
Michel.
a lot of
It
these
happened.
villages.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
They'd have no
I mean,
population.
we were
to
being
them.
pressured to close the school, and we
let's-
decided not to.
But let's take another
naturally.
call now
Yeah,
because we're
let's
close to
take a
the end.
Yeah.
But that's good that
Caller,
you
you're
answered.
live
Yeah.
on the other side.
Good evening to you. Good evening to your guest
Short
there.
and sweet.
Good evening.
And good evening to Mr. Henderson. How you doing?
So why you following me, Nagasa? Good evening, brother.
But man, you see, that's the thing with these people on the other side. They ask for you to come on this side to answer questions, but when you come there, you can't answer it. They give you the question that they're talking about on the other side at the time.
Yes.
Like I heard my good friend saying, "You burn the house to kill the rat."
Boy, you have to be
I mean,
careful of people swear, boy.
So I mean, this is I like this morning. I heard a guy on the radio this morning saying he prayed to God that the U.S. court come down on the CBI to cripple Dominica. I mean, come on, man. These people, I don't know, they're losing their head. I don't know what happened to them. They're losing their head. And Mr. Henderson, I tell you, trust me, I'm looking at you there, and you handling yourself very good indeed. And I must say, hats off to the government for what they're doing. And again, when they build the state house, the people on the other side said, why build a state house and not building house to give people? Now the government is building house to
That's a
give
good one.
people, to
That's a
give
good
to
one.
people free of charge. And they have a problem with that. Thank God for the CBI.
But-
Thank God for the Labour Party and the Prime Minister Roosevelt. Sorry.
But-
Okay, have a good afternoon.
We'll take one more call and then we'll, yeah. Go ahead.
Caller, you're live. Hello.
Hi, good night, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, quick question. I know it has been said over and over in Dominica, if not CBI, then what? I heard the Honorable Minister said that if we were to lose CBI, it would have devastating effect on the country. So my question to him is, what if, and some experts would say that at some point eventually,
Mhm.
the CBI would eventually expire itself.
Correct.
So when that happens,
Mhm.
what plan we have in place that it doesn't become devastated
Thank you.
and our economy will be able to float and continue to provide for our people. Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
Good question.
That's
Good
a question
question.
we've asked on the
Yeah.
show before.
No,
We
that's a
asked
good-
it- We
that-
asked it this evening as well.
That's a good
Right.
question.
And
That's a
this-
good
our
question.
last call.
And I know that a lot of us from the villages, when we were fearful that bananas would die, we thought we would be done with. I remember the days, and I was Minister for Agriculture. Actually, I was there when we had to unwind the DBMC and form the DBPL. So I know of the disruption and the suffering that brought. The truth is, when we started doing CBI, especially in earnest in the last 10 years, I mean, we really started pushing it in the last 10 years. Before that, it was just rolling slowly, and it started building up. And we recognized that we had to make investments to ensure that there would be a life after CBI. I think we were pretty much on our way. We got hit in 2015. We lost, I mean, we have to accept the fact that we lost 90% of our GDP by Tropical Storm Erika in 2015. And by 2017, we lost 226% of our GDP. You know what that is? It means all the things that you produce for the year, you lost it 2.25 times. That is to say, your government basically had no revenue for a long time, except for CBI. And we were able to build back. I know that were it not for those two natural disasters, I'm not even talking about global shocks and pressures from external, we would have been much further, because we're pretty much on our way to building an economy diversified, as it were. But think about the millions, the hundreds of millions of dollars that we've been forced to invest in infrastructure, build new bridges, build new roads, schools, health centers, all of those projects being funded by the CBI. So people must bear in mind that this is not in a vacuum. People are speaking as if to say we're just sitting there waiting for CBI money and spend it. This is not what we've been doing. We have been rebuilding a country that was devastated by a Category 5 hurricane, and we seem to be forgetting that. We know how Dominica was. I met grown men the day after Erika and days after Erika, after Maria, who asked me. There was one gentleman who asked me, boy, Mr. Vince, boy, you think we can ever come back from that? We finished, you know. I met grown men who were broken, who felt that there was no hope. And today, look at where we are. Look at where we are today. These are serious investments that the government has been forced to make. Had we not had this pressure, we could have been much further than this. We would have been able to pay for our hotel, our airport. We would have been able to make major investments in agriculture and tourism and manufacturing and small business. No, but sometimes when I hear people talk, they're making it seem as if we're not spending the money for the benefit of the people. Okay, I'm done.
The caller asked a legitimate question.
I like the question. I like the question.
This is our last year. You didn't answer the question.
I answered the question.
That means you're coming back.
I answered the question. Oh, you want me to come back?
Yeah, you didn't.
No, but I just answered the question. I'm telling you, but I answered him before. But I answered that before. I told you that we invested in hotels, we expanded tourism, we're building an airport, we invested in geothermal energy, we invested in small business. We have been investing in the productive sector. But I was telling him what the pressures are. Pleasure.
And thank the audience too for
Thank you very much.
notwithstanding.
Oh, but hey, Dr. Sentinel, I know you're listening, man. Thanks, man. Big up.
And your
And my
partner-
grand big
and
crew.
You should say hello to Zizi Pool.
Oh, yeah, boy. Mr. Don't call me. I'm feeling bad.
This has been the last time. See you guys next week, same time, same place, right here on the big station 395.
Right here, right now, I put the offer out. I don't want to cheat you down. I know you see it. You run with me, and I can cut you free out of the treachery and walls you keep in. Oh, na 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 na. Oh, na 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 na. Oh, na 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 na. Oh. Looking out my window.
The Global View on Q, the big station. Insights into where the people of Dominica and the Caribbean came from. Understanding our past. Embracing our present. Charting the way forward into our future. Together, eliminating poverty. Embracing justice, peace, and togetherness. The Global View on Q. Networking Dominica with the